Hi, I'm James McKernan. Welcome again to York University. Today what I'm going to show you is how to reskin an old flat. A lot of times flats, which are the fake walls we use in theater, the skins on them get overused, and what I'm going to recommend is that you replace the skin and reuse the frame. So Awais, Sarah, who's on camera, and I are going to help you learn how to do that. Awais, come on, let's get this flat and put it on the bench, please. Okay. And what we can do, Awais, is we want to put it face down. So let's turn it. Yeah. There we go. Great. Now, come on in and have a look at this. This is the ribbing on the back of this flat. It's close to 8 feet tall, this flat, and it's 4 feet wide. This particular one is made out of plywood ribbing, which is fine. This size, it's easy to do under 8 feet or even under 10 feet. It's really easy to put one of these to good use. I'm going to show you how to remove the skin, clean off the residue of the old flat, and or the old skin of the flat, and then put a new skin on it. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is knock the skin off it, and the easiest tool to use doing that is a wooden mallet. So all I'm going to do is gently my way around the flat. And knock it off. And now it's off. So, Awais, what we want to do is we want to lift this frame up and we'll lean it up against here. And this skin is now garbage, so we can take it and we'll just lean it up over here. For now. We may be able to cut it down into smaller pieces to use it for something, but we're not sure. Can you take the frame, please, and put it on the bench? Great. Come on in close. What you end up with are the staples sticking out, and this particular flat wasn't glued particularly well. So you can see the staples sticking out of the end grain of the plywood, but you don't have a lot of what we see over here, and it's not even on it. You know what? This skin wasn't even glued on. Well, so it's easier to reskin. I'll show you another time how to clean that up, but for now, this is pretty easy. You just got to pop the staples out, and my preferred tool for this are the end cutters. You don't squeeze too hard with the end cutters. You just pop them right off. You're squeezing onto the staple, and then you're not going to cut it. You just squeeze it to hold it. Hold your hands together, and then you lever it over, and the roundness of the front of the tool just pulls the staple right out. So the next part of this, now that we have all the staples cleared out, is to glue just like you would for any flat. So I'm just going to put this together, and I'm actually not going to glue this together and put Luan on this particular flat, which is normally what you skin a flat with. I'm going to put another product, and it's a Fibrex product. It's a medium density fiberboard with thin veneer of a birch plywood on both sides of both faces of the sheet. One of the problems with Luan is it's from Indonesia or the Philippines, another country that is deforesting at a really horrendous rate. And one of the things I want to do is see what other alternatives there are. I've seen cardboard used. It waffles when you paint it. I've seen thicker plywood used. It's more expensive, it's heavier. This is a 1/4 inch shop grade wood, so it's actually something that's used in building furniture and millwork, but this one is shop grade. There's something wrong with the sheet, so both sides aren't perfect. So you can get it at a few dollars more than you would pay for a sheet of Luan. It's a little heavier, but I'm hoping with the thin veneer of birch on both sides that you won't get the puckering you would if you just stapled and glued down a sheet of masonite or Fibrex 1/4 inch MDF or something like that. So we're going to see what it is. I'm going to show you how to reskin this, and then in another video I'm going to build a flat from start to finish, traditionally using the pine and the Luan that people normally use. So Wace, if you can get the other side of this, and you're going to walk towards Sarah past the sheet, and there's two sides here, and one of them is the bad side. The bottom, this is the bad side. You can see the piece that made it shop grade. And if you can keep holding this up in the air, but a foot above, what I'm going to do is ask you to continue to hold it, and then I'm going to lower my end, but you keep your end a little higher, please. We don't want it to touch the little higher. Great. And then I'm going to put my corner down, and then come to me around a little. So there you go. Let's drop it down, and then you can lay your edge right down, please, on top of the flat. Now, the same thing goes with skinning flats as it goes with skinning risers. That's great. You're never ever going to get one of these so that you lay the sheet on and it's perfect right at the get-go. What you're going to want to do, did you turn the air on? Could you please turn it on? Thanks, Oasis. What you're going to want to do is, bit by bit, square up the sheet as you go around. So, there you go. Perfect. What you're going to want to do is start in a corner. Get this corner perfect. And it's a good depth. And then work the short end first. You hang it over a bench, and you work about a foot at a time, getting the bottom of the frame in line with the bottom of the sheet good. Putting my staples 6 to 8 inches apart. Actually going a little deep, so I'm going to set that a little different, and I'm just going to follow it because I'm finding my staples are going a little deep. That's better. Started out fine, but again, I want to hang this end off the bench. There we go. And I'm going to work my way now up the long edge. Now there's a bit of a conversation that happens when it comes to which way you run your staples, with the grain or across the grain. Strength-wise, after reskinning thousands of these and building thousands of these, I can't say that I see a real difference in the strength. They don't go as deep when you run them across the grain because you're capturing the grain. This is made out of Fibrex though, so it's really not making a big difference. The big difference is running with and across the grain is actually puckering up the top. You actually get a little bit of the wood sticking up when you go across the grain. When you go with the grain, they go in nice and easily. It's still kind of 6 one way, half dozen the other at the end of the day, but it makes for interesting conversation. My painter friends usually enjoy it when I go with the grain, so that's a good enough reason to go with the grain. On the top and the bottom, I usually go across the grain, but on all the internals, I go with the grain. It's just the way I've developed to doing it. I don't know that it's going to make that big a deal. Now I'm going to come around and do the other side. And this side is where it is now. There's not a lot of pushing in and pulling out I can do on the sheet. And we're there. Can you bring that hose over for me a ways? There is an overhang. This is an oversized sheet of plywood. All right, that's great. So the next part of this is I've just marked where the center of each rail is underneath there. Some people use a T-square. I don't find the T-square is as accurate as I'd like to be, so I mark both sides of it. Of the flat, the center of the toggle, and I actually just draw a pencil line for me to follow. All right. And now I'm not going to reach all the way across, but I'm going to continue to do staples. Coming around. And then I'm going to finish this off. Okay, great. So the next step here, now that I've got it stapled and glued on in place, is just to clean up the edges. And I'm going to use a flush trim router to do that. I am going to wear my mask though, because of the lots of dust. So all I did there was I sanded the top where all the staples went in to make it easier on the painters later, and sanded the sides so that I finish off the work that the flush trim started. And the last thing I'm going to do is break the edge. Sorry. Now, this is more what a flat looks like once you've built it, glued it, and you pulled the luan off. You have a lot of wood that's hanging out here. So the two things you have to do are get these nails out of there and then clean up this excess wood. So what I wasn't able to show you on the other flat, I'll show you on this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to redo the whole thing here. I'm just going to, on camera, I will redo it. And they have found a very interesting way of building flats with pin nails, which is not something I do that much. They've used 18 gauge nails to put the skins on so they have a lower profile on the flat. Guess what they did that because the face of these flats was a wash treatment and they didn't want to have to repaint to start it, so they used the grain as a base. So I'm just going to clean up this edge. And the technique that I like to use is not to use a sander to start with. There's just too much actual wood there. You get too much particulate, you waste too many sanding discs. Again, I'm using the exact same technique to pull these nails out. But these nails seem to have held the wood long enough so that the glue could do its work. In any flat, the mechanical fasteners are the last thing that go. What actually keeps the flat together is the glue. So they did their job. What I next do is I take my block plane. Now I have two block planes. I have a block plane for doing nice stuff and a block plane for doing this. This is my rough block plane. And I'll just clean it off. Now it's pretty important to get those nails out of there, otherwise you'll really destroy your block plane. Your block plane doesn't like glue too much, but it likes nails even less. So I don't set it overly aggressively in terms of the set of the block plane. But you can see, with very little sawdust, very little noise, no electricity, I've cleaned this edge of the flat up. It's ready that I can reskin it anytime I want to. I just need to do the rest of this, the same with the rest.